Can two work together except they agree? The attitude being displayed by my brothers from the Niger Delta to Igbos will never cease to amaze me. The likes of Asari Dokubo, once a militant in the Niger Delta region, who have failed to understand the politics behind the name Niger Delta, but would rather have chosen to sabotage every effort put in place by IPOB, the indigenous people of Biafra, headed by gallant Mazi Nnamdi Kanu. You should note that gallant and courageous men like Ken Saro-Wiwa and Adaka Boru were all treated like mere criminals by their masters. As you all know what happened to Ken Saro-Wiwa. You should bear in mind that Asari Dokubo, he will never escape the caliphate. You should be of the knowledge that a clamor for Niger Delta Republic is not less a crime. It is not a crime at all. Acknowledging the fact that no one is a Niger Deltan. For avoidance of doubt, there is nothing like Niger Delta on the map of the world. The name was created to weaken the quest for restoration of Biafra and to create divide and rule syndrome amongst us. No wonder the African king of literature, Chinua Achebe, said in Things Fall Apart that they have put a knife on the things that bound us together. Now the center cannot hold and things are falling apart. For decades, Caliphate in the north have been deceiving us with Niger Delta, South-South, Southeast, Middle Belt, Southwest. They've been deceiving everyone with this syndrome, unknown to us that we are all Biafrans. The insanity of Asari Dokubo and his fellow conspirators clamoring for Niger Delta Republic is mind-boggling. These dudes depend on nothing but allocation, selling of land, and pipeline security guards. The gravity of laziness running in their system is what has kept them in bondage for decades, because they ignorantly believe that an Igbo man is their problem. They believe that an Igbo man is after their oil and nothing more. Out of greed, envy, and jealousy, they bluntly believed that Igbo man is fighting for Biafra in a bid to take and control their resources. While they are busy fighting their brothers, who have been on their side for decades, their real enemies are busy taking their oil and injecting abject poverty into their land. They ignorantly believe they are Niger Delta or South-South without knowing the name was a political formation to milk them dry. The utterances from these pipeline security guards from the oil-rich regions known as Niger Deltans against the Igbo is disheartening. Niger Delta or South-South is not an indigenous name, but a political formation riddled in identity crisis. To start with, can these brothers of mine who claim to be Niger Delta proudly explain the meaning of Niger Delta? Can they please educate or convince me that Niger Delta or South-South is their indigenous name before the arrival of the colonial masters? Those of you claiming to be Niger Delta should note that name is a concocted name. In other words, calling yourself a Niger Delta or South-South means you are simply a puppet, a pet. The era of divide and rule, neo-colonialism by British experiment on Biafrans is over. Those of you claiming Niger Delta or South-South should note that there is nothing close to South-South in geography. The era to liberate and get rid of this Niger Delta and South-South is now. Our people from the coastal region must do researches about their identities before the creation of Niger Delta and South South. We are who we are, and that is Biafra. Our history can never be erased by any mortal, no matter how hard they try. We have come to reclaim our identity. Now, that is a write-up by someone who has decided to look into the issues of the Niger Delta, matter that is on ground at the moment. Like I would say, it's not a crime for anyone to come up with a state, a region, a country of their own, as everyone have the right according to, the geography and also the culture of the people. But before you come up with creation of your own country, I believe that you should do research and make sure when you are giving yourself a name, I believe that the name should correspond with your identity, with who you are, rather than a name that has just been given by, by some groups of people who, just like the way they form Nigeria, and oftentimes they say Nigeria simply means Niger area. I don't think anyone will be happy, comfortable, and would embrace and appreciate being called a nigger, as a lot of people do not know what nigger means. A nigger means lazy, dirty, smelling, layabout, and people who do not have the ability to reason and think. That is simply what nigger means. So when we see names such as Niger Delta and many of these names, one will want to reason what Niger Delta means. Is Delta an indigenous name? These are questions that begs for answer. Then the Niger, are they drawing the name from the River Niger? Is that the identity of the south of Nigeria? They say we are south, yes, according to geography. But have they lost their identity? Is it impossible for them to come up with one name that actually represents the people in that particular region of the south of Nigeria? Are they going to come up with names later? Now, there are arguments as regards what Biafra means. Some Igbos have interpreted what Biafra means in Igbo language, but then Biafra is not only it's not only about the Igbos. There are other people that do not speak the Igbo language, even though the Igbos are much more in numbers compared to the rest of the ethnic groups that make up Biafra. I do not want to accept that Biafra should be interpreted in Igbo language because it's not just about Igbo. So there must be another meaning. Now, some claim that some groups of people from Britain, some of the criminals that came overseas down to Africa and landed in that region were the ones that changed the name to Biafra. They claim that it was a name in that same Bayelsa region. They claim that it was a specific part of the sea, and that is how they came up with the name. I've done a piece about this. I've done something about this, and a lot of people said no. Biafra means Bia, come, and come. Let's it's not only about the Igbo. So there are more researches that needs to be done about the name Biafra and what it actually means. So names do change over time. There are countries that bear a certain name, and after a while, some people invaded them and they changed the name, and the name the people got stuck with the name. So they said Biafra came from what I said, from a part in Bayelsa State, and it's actually a location, a natural part of the waterway where ships and boats could berth in those days. That's where ships and boats could berth in those days, where ships. It's just like a natural part where ships can just hang in those days when the British came in, and they eventually changed the name to Biafra. It is once said that it is called something called Biafrum, something like that. That is what they claim it was. They said it was called Biafrum, and they eventually changed it to Biafra. But whatever it is, Biafra, officially the Republic of Biafra, was a state in the West Africa that existed from May 1967 to January 1970. It was made up of a state in the eastern region of Nigeria, and that's the important part of it. Biafra Declaration of Independence from Nigeria resulted in civil war between Nigeria and the capital then is called Enugu. Now, the story of Biafra being located in Bayelsa, it's something that people still need to look into, and of course, look much more into the issues that are on ground. If it is Biafra, it is Biafra. Whatever it is, what we should focus now on is the agitation of Biafra. What is the ideology behind Biafra? Biafra is simply saying we do not want to stay in that contraption. And this movement is headed by the indigenous people of Biafra, Mazi Nnamdi Kanu. And he said that there is something like Midwest, there's something like Bendel, there's something like South, there's something like Niger Delta. And this has drawn negative response from two groups, the Midwest movement and the Benin Solidarity Movement, BSM. In reaction to this, one Dr. Don Pedro Obaseki, the convener of the Midwest movement, he said that Mazi Nnamdi Kanu does not understand history, and he actually even used the word illiterate, that he does not know. And this Don Pedro Obaseki is the brother of the governor of Edo State, Godwin Obaseki. He went on to posit, he said, Biafra is an Ijaw language which described the upheaval around Brass and Nembe because ships could not break it. He said that is how the name came about, Biafra. He said a young man in 1967, when Ojukwu was looking for a name to call Eastern Region, now suggested that they should call the place Biafra. But when the Caucasians came in those days, they could not pronounce Biafra. There were only 2 bites on the Gulf of Guinea. A bite is an area within the concave of a seashore that has a natural port. And there were only 2 bites. The bite of Benin, which is from the edge of a place they call Akotogbo in Ondo State, and the edge of the Non River by Forcados. The next one is between Nembe and Brass. That is the bite of Biafra. The bite of Biafra. The bite of Biafra, as it is called. So whatever they came up with, they said they couldn't pronounce Biafra, so they called it Biafra, as they couldn't come up with the name, and it stuck. You say there is no word called Biafra in Igbo language, and a lot of people have interpreted what it actually means anyway. So I'm not going to go into the details of this, but what I want to focus more on is the division amongst the people that were once Biafrans, people that fought war together, but all of a sudden, as a result of politics and the divide and rule strategy, they've become enemies to themselves, where you find the likes of Asari Dokuba and some other people, they are at loggerheads with each other. The best solution is for these people to stand together as one. In fact, I am even looking at the whole of the south of Nigeria coming together and break that monopoly and divide that unlawful marriage that has been forced on them. How then can it be if the Biafrans are fighting each other and having quarrels and problems with each other? They cannot unite. This divide and rule has worked. Enough of I have resources on my land. It is simple. Come on the table, discuss and talk. After all, every region in the eastern region, every state in the eastern region have one indigenous ability or the other. I do not think the Igbos will dominate the people who call themselves Niger Deltas. They've shown over time that they can be warriors. They've shown themselves in militancy. So what are we talking about? I believe that progress can only be achieved if they come together and agree. It is not only crude oil that is a resource. We have human resources too. And it can be shown amongst the Igbos that they have human resources that can be put that can be put to bring about progress. Anyway, what's your own about this? Are you from Niger Delta? And what have you learned over time? As I've heard that history is being shut off and lies are being repeated several times. Is there anything like Niger Delta? Is there anything like South? Is there anything like Biafra? Is there anything like Biafra? I've explained according to what they have put out there, Pedro Obaseki and some other books out there. They've explained that Biafra simply is it's simply where ships could not break, and it was called Biafra. And Biafra simply means a place where the ships could not break. I mean, the force of the sea. And they've explained that there are only 2 bights on the Gulf of Guinea, and they have explained that a bight is an area within the concave of a seashore that has a natural port, not the one that is man-made built, but a bight is area within the concave of a seashore where ships can put their ships and park their ships, if I could use that word, naturally. And that's what they said. They said one is the bight of Benin, which is from the edge of a place called Akotogbo in Ondo State. One is at Akotogbo, and one is between Nembe and Brass. These are the 2 natural bights that we have at the Gulf of Guinea. And they say the name Biafra was created from an Ijaw word. Biafra, created from an Ijaw word. Now, what's your own opinion as regards this? Biafra is an Ijaw word, and it comes from Biafra, meaning don't pass here. Don't pass here means do not pass here. The wave is so high there, you cannot get across there. That was the language used by Ijaw to describe the upheaval around Brass. That is the surge of the sea around Brass and Nembe, because the ships could not break it. The ships could not penetrate that area and pass through that area. They couldn't break it, so they have to pass some other side. And they said there are only 2 natural bights. One I have said before, and the other I have also told you. So what's your own personal opinion about it? Let us meet at the comment section. And while you're that, if you're not a member of the channel, let's grow together by you tapping on the subscription button and the red notification icon bell below. It will alert you whenever I video.